I'm into technology. I done games design, so I really like technology. But away from that as well, like obviously exclusion has massively affected me since nursery. Um, and obviously my first exclusion came when I was 6. So that's the more I speak to professionals and stuff, unusual, but to me it was I normalized it. Um, Basically, uh, by 7, I had been placed into my second primary school after being off road um, illegally from my first primary school. My mum at the time worked with the Commission for Racial Equality, so she sent a letter to the MP and got me reinstated back onto the register. But I moved schools, and that battle with the system kind of carried on following me. But so I was put through early intervention, prevention. I've got my notes. I think I should follow them. So I was brought up in early intervention, obviously involving a lot of one-to-one mentoring and extra support, and that was just for my education. And I'm 25 now, but at the time that I had been labelled and statemented, it was just the SEN support instead of ECP and having education, care, health plans. But that I feel like I'm exposed to a lot of the environmental issues. Like I've got oppositional defiance disorder, which was diagnosed when I was 10. So that means I challenge and I question authority, inconsistent authority. So that would require me, in essence, knowing the rules. But obviously in school, that wasn't seen as something that was a good characteristic, and obviously I was put through early intervention and spent 11 to 16 in a pupil referral unit. I didn't get to go into secondary mainstream school, so I don't really have experiences of that, but I wasn't allowed to have the experience. And that's why like I started getting involved in activism, because I've got a neurodiverse disorder. Um, Supposedly I'm on the DSM-5. So all these things are things that made me want to ask a question. And obviously being statemented, I was supposed to have additional support and have a key worker, support worker, all these things. But once I was placed outside of my borough, I sort of never heard from my local authorities again, and that's something that I'm chasing up now. And obviously, that's a lot of support that my mum didn't really receive and that I didn't receive. But away from that, I wasn't ever really fixated on money. So that helped me avoid a lot of issues that I might have faced. Um, like in terms of like austerity and poverty and just dealing with those environmental factors. I was more involved in my education and kind of proving my teacher that said like I wouldn't really do much, even though at such a young age I was fixated on being successful, and I got a fear of failure. So I was more fixated on the education side, doing employability skills training, and just yeah, like I said, I was into technology, so I tried to do something that would prepare me for the future, like games design. I sort of acknowledged the failures in the system that I had been a part of from so young, and kind of tried to work my way around it. And obviously, being oppositional, I never asked for support, but I didn't know the level of support I was supposed to be receiving. So just coming out of crew with 8 GCSEs and kind of like disproving all of the early prevention and intervention and being a troublemaker and whatnot, and actually having a lust for knowledge, which what I found it was and continues to be. like I've got a lot of questions, and I don't feel like there's any guarantees on obviously what's being proposed right now in terms of reducing knife crime and how early intervention can kind of support that, because obviously I've lived through that, and they don't know where I could be right now. I could be anywhere, but obviously I'm choosing to be here and speak up like what I was accused of doing throughout school. But like um a couple more minutes. Um well, I should maybe talk about some organizations that I'm a part of. I'm not really the best at public speaking, I believe, but I went further into trying to be one of those role models that I have been missing, or that wasn't so evidently clear in obviously my environment, because the way people are pathologized and just people give in before they tap out before they should carry on fighting the system. But obviously I got involved in some organizations after being unsupported, getting into employment, and sort of not really falling into those those statistics. Um, as an adult, I got faced with another form of authority, and that was kind of what my issue was. And that form of authority was obviously a police officer, but mm, it didn't go favorably. Obviously, I question things. I question people in authority, and obviously, police, teachers, things. People like that, like the powers that be, they don't actually like that. Um, um, but I do feel like coming together as a community is important. Obviously, I'm Guyanese and Jamaican, so yeah, I heard that mentioned down at the end, and I feel like whatever it is, whether it's my ethnicity, my upbringing, or just my general beliefs, or being oppositional, I don't know if that's a problem, but it was in 2004. So I don't know whether being oppositional is a bad trait, but I feel like the more young people come forward and speak, the better. So No More Exclusions was one of the organizations that I got involved with. Just for Kids Law as well, I speak in on some issues involving school exclusions with Just for Kids Law. I recently trained to be a community organizer with the project I'm a part of, Take Back the Power. So there's a lot of things that I'm trying to do to action my experience with the Poo to Prison pipeline, and my experience with authorities in general, and how much as young people, particularly young black boys, we're listened to, because obviously I was probably saying the same thing when I was 6, 7, 8, but obviously it's taken this long to get to this platform, and yeah, I'm just hopeful that people will continue to listen.